Hey, good evening, and welcome yet again to another edition of Freak 24. And today we are going to recap the political scenes that have been happening in our country, Kenya. And I'm joined here by the one and only Big Ben to unlock the stories that are happening in Kenya. We are going to unpack the stories shaping the country and of course the world. And today we are marking Easter. I wish you all a happy Easter, and please take care, don't overindulge. And if you're driving in the roads of Nairobi, tafadhali, slow down. Your maximum, watch out on the speed. Fika hapo 80 kilometers per hour, hiyo ni sawa. Ukifika town, do a 40, 20, 25 kama ni mingi sana. Care for other road users. Hata pedestrians pia ni watu. We want to see them in next year. And of course, we want some of those people to vote, because Kenya imekuwa ni siasa. We are also marking the return of Fred Matiang'i, the entry of Fred Matiang'i into the presidential race, and the wrangles, of course, in ODM following Orengo's critique of the broad-based government. And joining me this evening is Brother Ben, whose insight promises to shed light on the complexities in Kenyan politics. Karibu sana, Brother Ben.
Asante sana. Nimeshukuru. Nasikia ukihimiza wale ambao wanaendesha magari. Unajua kuna ajali zingine ambao zinatokea watu wanaweza ziepuka. Unajua. Na ni vizuri kwa sababu saa zingine unapata ajali imetokea na ukiangalia kwa makini unaona ni kwamba ni ile ajali ambapo kama watu wangekuwa wamemakinika katika barabara na kuzingatia zile sheria ambao zimewekwa za barabara, unaweza pata kwamba saa zingine hatupotezi maisha. Lakini unajua binadamu pia ni binadamu, pia uwezi walazimisha kuishi ama kuendesha. Unapata kwamba tunapoteza maisha kwa njia ambazo si nzuri.
Ni zile ambazo tunaweza nzuri kabisa. Na unajua kama mimi ni mwendeshaji gari, nimeendesha gari kwa miaka mingi sana. Hata matruck mimi naendesha, hizi mauba naendesha, school bus mimi naendesha. Nimeendesha magari kwa muda mingi sana. Ile kitu nazaambia watu ni Kenya aswa wazingatii usalama. Wewe kama dereva wakati wa hii festive season, tajiri wako anataka kupata pesa zaidi, anakuambia wewe markup yako leo leta 20,000 ama 30,000. So unaendesha gari kwa kasi hata ujalala. Kama wewe ni dereva, ukisikia usingizi, dawa si ukunywe ile energy drink, na dawa ni uweke gari kando, upige power nap. Inaitwa power nap. Piga power nap ukibeba familia yako pale, umefika pale Naivasha ama umefika pale escarpment pale, piga power nap hapo kidogo, upigwe na baridi kiasi ya dakika 10, alafu uendelee na safari. Otherwise tunawatakia Pasaka njema wakati tuna celebrate, and please do take care if you are Christian celebrating, and if you are also Muslim, you can also join us and other religions. Karibuni sana, Freak 24. This is the one and only place where we recap the political stories the way they happen throughout the week. Ben, what is the big story?
The big story is the return of Fred Okengo Matiang'i. And you know, Fred Okengo Matiang'i is not a new person in the Kenya political arena or in the Kenya history, because you remember he was the super CS during the second administration of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, whereby he was believed to have taken the position of the deputy president. And you can remember well, he used to be that person who takes the position of the deputy, and when current president actually disagreed with the former president. So Matiang'i is not somebody that we might ignore, especially in politics, based on how he has performed. His performance is well known, but despite all that, he still have his shortcoming, and there are so many things that still the people of Kenya are accusing him of. So those are some of the things we are going to look at, and we are going to look at how his presidential is going to shape, even though he has not declared. But from his allies, especially like Onyonka, good senator from Kisii, has always been talking about him, especially when they go to their meetings where Rigathi Gachagua and His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka are, which means he might be in the ballot. So we will discuss more about him.
Yeah, viewers, if you don't know much about Fred Matiang'i was a cabinet secretary for education. He was also education. He was also a cabinet secretary for interior and coordination of national government. And he was also a cabinet secretary for information and technology. On all these docket that Fred or Matiang'i was given a role in education. He ensured that cheating in the Kenyan exam or the Kenyan exams became very credible. Bwana Ben, do you remember what happened when Matiang'i took the education docket?
When Matiang'i took the education docket one, you remember when you did sit for your KCSE exams, it used to take long time, and Matiang'i shortened that period. It did not take long. And remember, during his time, that is the time that we got the less A as compared to previous years. So there are so many things that Matiang'i did during his time as the CS for education. I can remember there are days he would walk in school and get the teachers unawares, and ask them those questions. He also introduced the yellow bus, which we did not have. So Matiang'i, generally, if you look at his service to the country, he has really done well. There are some changes that you can point out. He has a legacy, but that his legacy does not come with his failures. He has failures too. Remember, there's also he was accused of there's a land case that
the land case in Ruaraka, something like
Ruaraka,
that.
the school, he has that one. He has been accused by that. And something that people do not know about Matiang'i was mentored by I think he was mentored by Nyachai, during when Nyachai was running for president, and he was the personal assistant to Nyachai. So his leadership skills, he's inherited from Nyachai. So that is something that I would also say about Matiang'i.
Now, what I echo Matiang'i for is the movement from analog to digital platforms. Not so many people know that now we are on the digital broadcasting. What you are seeing on YouTube and all your TVs and all that. Kitambo ulikuwa na kale ka TV kana katumbo kama kangu hapa. Kala katumbo kakubwa hivi. Zilienda sasa kila kitu ni digitali. That was Fred Matiang'i. The issues of passports became digital. Vitu kama birth certificate TV, Matiang'i did a very good job on them. So these are some of the things that Fred Matiang'i did that I would say that he did a recommendable job. But in Kenyan politics, just as we say, not all of them are saints. Na kama ilikuwa we were to elect somebody who is Mr. Clean. In the last election, kulikuwa na pastor. Na Kenya wakamuignore. Kulikuwa na pastor, mtu wa Mungu kabisa. Mtu wa Mungu kabisa na mtu wa pastor, na wakachagua William Samoei Ruto. So Kenyan politics is interesting. It's very, very interesting. What we want is so different. We look at politics on the tribal lens. We look at politics on a psychophancy base. And now we have got also scavengers in politics. Kuna wale wanakula mabakshishi za siasa bana, wanakuja sasa zile mshaform serikali yao ndio hao wamedania. Wale unawajua wale kina Yaye pale wale wa bakshishi.
So, si wa bakshishi vile, lakini ni mfumo ambao labda siasa zetu zipo, kwa sababu inakuonesha kuwa wale ambao wanagombea nyadhifa mbalimbali ni naweza sema ni wa mtu mmoja, ni kama watoto ambao wamezaliwa na baba mmoja na wote wameenda kuwinda wakipata saa zile wanawinda, wanakuwa ni watu ambao wanaonekana ni waadui sana, kwa sababu wanawinda, kila mtu anataka kuchukua yake. Lakini labda wakakaa chini kama mafamilia, wanasema tunaenda kuwinda, ukipata itabidi tulishane pamoja, kwa sababu sisi ni watu wa watoto mmoja, baba yetu mmoja, mama mmoja, itabidi tumegawa. So hiyo ndio naweza tafsiri hivyo siasa yenyewe. Yeah.
Sasa Ben, hebu niambie wewe, ukiangalia what are the chances of Fred Matiang'i regarding all the political players who are eyeing to vie for this presidency? Do you think that Fred Matiang'i is the one candidate that can take on William Samoei Ruto?
You know, we cannot be very specific. I think like anybody who can go to the ballot can take on President William Ruto. Yeah. And if you can get clearance to go to the ballot, or if your name can be on those presidential papers or on the ballot box, then you can take on William Ruto. But the question is, do you have the muscles, or do you have the numbers to beat William Ruto? So there's so many things that are in stake, especially when you talk about the 2027, especially like Matiang'i. Though he has not declared, these are just rumors. Matiang'i has never declared that I'm going to run for presidency. But we are getting these echoes from his close allies like Onyonka. We've had the Kibagendi also have talked about him, you know. But now, remember, Matiang'i, sources are, or in the public domain, the public believe that Matiang'i is being sponsored by the former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. You know, and if you look at the administration of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, there are some other advantages that Kenyans are pointing out during the Uhuru administration. You know, things like when it comes to the national debt, you know, money that Uhuru Kenyatta borrowed. You know, when you talk of scandals like the COVID money, you know, so when all the history, the bad history that is with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta's administration, if you bring in Matiang'i, all those bad history will be falling on him, because people believe he's being confronted by Uhuru Kenyatta to run. That is one. Then secondly, again, you have to look at President William Ruto right now in the public gallery. You know, when you look at the administration of the administration of President William Ruto, is the administration that has been facing so many challenges, especially ever since it came into power, you know. And the challenges are ranging from things to do with issues to do with the law, yeah. Then issue also to do with the mistrust, the issue also to do with the promises that are not being fulfilled, the deficit, the trust deficit between him and the people of Kenya, majority of people of Kenya. So I think anybody who will be running against President William Ruto, they might get a chance to be somewhere, because they will have what it takes, especially when they package themselves well to sell to the people, taking advantage of the weaknesses that they are seeing with the administration of President William Ruto. So Matiang'i also has a chance. The field is his. He can come, he can win, or he may not win. So that is also is there.
I see Gypsy Corner on the comment section. Hey, happy Easter, Gypsy. Thank you for the compliments, and thank you for sticking with a freak and being part of the conversation all the time. We salute you any day, anytime. Now, Gypsy is saying, with the support of Onyonka and Uhuru, he has the power, money, and votes for mainly the mountain with at least 85%. Gypsy, your statement is partly correct, but because Uhuru has got some influence in central Kenya, but I think that influence right now lies with Gachagua. Gachagua influences majority of the mountain. is the one who is now in charge of the mountain. Although he recognizes Uhuru Kenyatta, we have not seen Uhuru Kenyatta and Gachagua coming like working very, very closely. I think Uhuru still has got bado akona ile hasira ya ile mambuzi yake ilibiwa huko kwa ile shamba. Hiyo hasira bado ijapotea sana. So bado kuna ile yani wanagopana kwa umbali, lakini ni mandugu na wanaitana na mandugu. But by and large, the mountain belongs to one Gachagua. At the moment, is the one who is controlling the political game in the mountain. Now, my biggest question, Mr. Ben, is that I see so many candidates. I see now the Kisii community now supporting William or supporting Matiangi. There are also those who are in UDA with William Ruto, the likes of Osoro and all that. Those are strong supporters of William Samoei Ruto, and I don't see them leaving at any given time. Do you see a possibility of William Ruto joining or Matiangi joining William Ruto?
You know, anything in politics.
Have you guys thought of that can be a possibility?
Yeah, possibilities are always there, because what drives politics? Politics is about interest and power. Nobody doesn't want interest. The interest will always come first, then power. Because if you have power, which means you control a lot of things. If you look at even those who have power right now, let's take, for example, Raila had influence, and right now he's working with the President William Ruto. He has power. Where he goes, the security apparatus are with him, and he get easy accessibility to some areas or some places that he was not able to access. So anything is politics is possible, provided that your interests converge. If your interests converge, anything is possible. That's said and done. There are also some factors that plays part in politics. One is about the people. What are the people looking for? If the people knows actually the kind of questions they are going to answer in the ballot, then they're going to decide whether you come together or you don't come. Then our questions are going to be answered in the ballot. And what are these questions maybe people are looking for? People are looking for a leader who is going to solve the challenges that they are going through. Things to do. How are you going to make our health system work? How are you going to make our education system better? How are you going to deal with the corruption? How are we going to deal with the issue of tribalism? So those are the questions that might be at the box, at the ballot box. But if they're going to answer them wrong, then they're going to use the same system that they've been using to produce the same leaders for the last 40 years.
Now, I know many of you out there don't even know that Matiangi has a political party that is going to run on. It is called the UPA, United Progressive Alliance. There was speculation that he might run on a Jubilee ticket. Jubilee is like dead, just like UDA, and I will come to that part of the story later in this particular edition. Now, Matiangi is going to run on a UPA ticket. This is now another new entrant into the politics.
Yeah.
Now, I feel Matiangi, during his time, there was a lot of extrajudicial killings, and probably he did not take action. Some of these things, they come later on to haunt you in Kenyan politics, especially when you have said that people are going to look at your policies and all the things that you are going to do and all. I don't think Kenyans look for policy and the things that you are going to do. Hizo zote wacheni bwana, wacheni kujidanganya. Do we really look for policy? Are you sincere that we look for policies?
No, yeah. Kenyans. When you look at Kenyan politics, the things that usually all the issues that usually take the center stage, one of them is tribalism. That is the most in the Kenyan politics.
Yeah,
Because
so this is what you'd be saying. With Matiangi entry into politics, Kenyans are so tribal that the Kisii ODM vote, the Kisii UDA vote is going to go to Matiangi. Am I right?
Not necessarily, but it is one of the...
No. What do you mean by not necessarily? We say that we vote on tribal lines.
Yes, but I was saying this, like there are so many factors that plays a role, or so many pointing factors that are in consideration, especially when Kenyans are voting, one of them being tribal. But you have to remember there's a constituency right now that people, that majority of us are talking about, the Gen Z, that does not align themselves to any tribe, so is also one of the factors that is also going to play a role in 2027. But among other things, the ones that are in the top priority list is usually tribal, where you're coming from. First of all, you have to convince anybody that you're going to have a coalition with that what are you bringing on the table? Not in terms of intelligence, not in terms of expertise, not in terms of good leadership, but in terms of numbers. That is the number one priority. What are you bringing on the table? Are you bringing expertise? Apart from expertise, we want numbers. How can we balance off our competitors, and how are we balancing them off? We look at the regions where they are coming from, and we map out their numbers, and we look at, if we give you the deputy president or if we give you the presidency, how are we going to, how is your numbers, or the numbers that you're bringing is going to balance off as we give you the presidency? That is what they're looking for.
Okay, you have gone into some maths, and bwana sisi watu walichukua jembe hii kwa maths bana. Usianze, don't go into the data so much, and but what I can say about Matiangi is that his entry into politics, into the Kenyan politics, gives a spin to, and it cuts across majorly the alliances that are in Western Kenya, especially in Nyanza region, where we have his community predominantly supporting ODM. Those areas is going to cut very, very sharply. Yeah. And they're going to be divided when it comes to the vote in 2027. But how does this play into Ruto's political game? Now, my analysis, and correct me if I'm wrong, and this is how I look at it. Ruto wants more players into the game. So when more players into the game come in, and they are voted by their communities as in the name of presidential candidates, it gives him an easier path, because he already has his voting bloc, which is the Rift Valley now, and he is also bringing not entirely Raila's political base, but maybe 3/4 of Raila's political base coming to his camp. So he's home and dry. But the biggest fear for all these politicians is the shakeup that the Gen Zs brought in Kenyan politics. This shakeup is what everybody else is fearing. And we are looking at a situation whereby we had 8 million Kenyans did not vote.
Yep.
Echoes of what was it? What is the echoes of what?
Echoes of war.
Echoes of war. Echoes of War was just staged the other day, and 900,000 young Kenyans are going to be issued with IDs at the end of this year. That is a new voting block. And calculate that after every 1 year, we have a new voting block of young people coming in. And these young people, they don't subscribe to Raila Odinga's politics and William Ruto and Kalonzo's groups kind of politics. They are bringing a new cocktail of politics. They are adding some spices that they were missing in Kenyan politics. How do you see this playing?
You know, one thing that I've always said, when you look at 2027, there are people who are going to, there's a constituency that is going to influence the outcome of general election. And the Gen Z are the influencers. You know, they are going to influence the outcome of the 2027 general election. But I still doubt whether they are going to have a presidential candidate. Yeah. But they are going to influence the person who is going to be the president. And another good thing that also is going to happen is that the 2027 is going to give Kenya more options than ever before to choose from. Yeah, because when you look at right now, or when I bring you back to 2022 general election to 2027, in 2022 general election, if you look at how President Ruto really campaigned, and you look at how Azimio really campaigned, that was the campaign that were more or less of issue-based. They were kind of talking about the issues as compared to previous elections. Yeah. So it means coming to 2027, it's going to be even more issue-based, and it's going to be much difficult, especially for President William Ruto, to defend some of the promises that he gave, which he has not actualized. You know. And the person who also is coming, the candidates who are going to offer themselves for the presidential, they will also have a huge tax to do, especially because everybody wants to get the constituency of the Gen Z. Yeah, and if everybody wants to get the constituency of the Gen Z, is either they are getting it or they are dividing it. That's how they are going to get it.
All right, Ben. Just hold on your thoughts. Who among these candidates is not going to get the constituency of Gen Z?
No, all of them are going to get the constituency of Gen Z. Yeah, you know, it doesn't matter. You're going to get out of 100% in the market of or in the constituency of Gen Z. You're looking at 100%. There's somebody who is going to get 20%. Somebody's going to get 30%.
Okay. You're a guy of numbers. Yeah. Can you give me a rough estimate of the Gen Z's vote by the time we are reaching 2027?
No, I cannot roughly estimate.
No. We have to talk facts.
No, you know, I cannot give you the exact number.
You know, there are numbers out there. Like in the world, it is projected that the population is 60% by 2030 of the world will belong to the young people, the Gen Zs. Yeah. In Kenya, this is the projection. 40% of the votes that will be cast in the Kenyan ballot will belong to these young people. And when I'm talking about Gen Zs, let me give you the numbers. Let me give you the estimate so that you have a rough idea of what the Gen Zs really mean. A Gen Z age group, and particularly those who had finished and never voted. In the last election, 8 million Kenyans felt that Raila Odinga and William Ruto are not fit, or anybody in the particular ballot was not fit to be president. So they didn't turn up to vote for any candidate. So 8 million Kenyans did not vote. And you have also heard that these young people, they don't go to the ballot to vote. Hawapigagi kura. That is another thing. They don't vote. Now, I told you about echoes of war being stopped the other day. That is about each and every year. Form 4, wale wanatoka shule na kumaliza mtihani ni 900,000. Mera.
But Mzalendo, as you even give the numbers, you have to give what are the driving factors to the vote, to the ballot box.
I am getting to the driving factors right now. If you speak to 5 Gen Zs or 10, ukikutana na Gen Zs watano, or between Raila Odinga, William Ruto, and any other candidate, who can you vote for? They'll tell you that, you know, they cannot vote for any of those that you've mentioned who are on the political scene or who have been on the ballot. And the reason being, they feel that this leadership has changed them for a very long time. And that is why they went on the streets. Are they happy with William Ruto's government? I mean, these people are not happy with this government. And the reason why we keep on emphasizing that this is the biggest voting bloc, now pia umesema, these are the biggest, these are the game changers. This is the spice in that soup that will make it a delicacy. So our Jama, I can tell you, they are around 15 million. By the time we'll be going for the ballot, that is 15 million. Not, I have given 5 million to William Ruto and the rest, Nanani, wachukue 5. My estimate will be around 20 million if they all pick up these identity cards. 20 million plus young people are going to participate in the next election. And that is the biggest fear.
So what will be the driving factor?
The driving factor is that, you know, like where you are, they're talking about oligarchs.
Oligarchs.
Oligarchs. In Kenya, what are they talking about? They're talking about the, I'd given it a name the other day. It has a name here. A country that is just ruled by some politicians who are rich and can manipulate the system. They are just politicians who are rich and can. Kenya is ruled by not by the business class, but these politicians who manipulate us each and every election year. So that kind of system. So this is what everybody else wants to kick out. They want to sweep off parliament, the entire parliament. Kama uta-survive, bahati yako. The Senate, iende, we get a whole new set of leaders. That is what Gen Zs are talking about. They are not talking about, that Ruto too must go alone. Hapana. It is the entire system.
What is what Rogers Killer is saying?
Rogers is here. This is a young guy who is probably telling you, hey, I'm Rogers. I voted for Ruto in the last election. I won't repeat it again. They won't repeat it again. And that's a vote that imepotea. Si ati ataipata tena. Hiyo imeenda na imeenda. And now these are the people who you are banking on. Atia walipigia huyu mzee watampigia tena. Imeisha. That is the greatest fear.
So, and that's why I was telling you, like, when you are without the exact number, but I know that each and every person that will be running, at least at some point, they will get some percentage on the on Gen Z constituency, and even Matiangi, you know, if you go, if you scroll on the X space when Matiangi jetted in yesterday, people have different reactions that they are pointing at. That those who are pointing it quite negatively, that those who are pointing it quite positively, you know. But now come to a situation whereby it is between now Matiangi and the president, you know. You will find the possibility of Matiang'i getting more vote if it is carried today. If I think the election is done today, the possibility of Matiang'i winning is quite much higher than the president. Yeah, right now, if you say that the polls are carried today, that we are going to the polls today, I tend to believe with the public outcry of the administration, Matiang'i might defeat the president if the vote is done today, right now. But in the long run, you know, politics changes. Anything can come and change the outcome of the politics. Somebody might come into the race, and And what we are saying is just speculation, because Matiang'i himself has not declared that I'm going to run. But yesterday he said that on 19th, I think it is on 19th of 19th, but 9th, he might be having a gathering. So from that gathering, we might get the real information now from him. Now, that one will also change the political, provided that Matiang'i has made pronouncement himself. The political landscape will change a little bit, and now the discussion will come, and he will have to overcome so many challenges. One of the challenges that he has to overcome is the wrath of the government in place. Hata makesi mingi zitakuwa zinakuja, unajua hivyo. Hii na hii kesi mingi zitakuwa inakuja, because we've seen that when such political people are having competition, what usually happens, you see, like the people who are not in government, they usually get frustrated. Remember how President William Ruto was frustrated when Uhuru was the president, and by then Matiang'i was the CS for Interior. So there's so many things that will play part. Yeah.
No, I agree with you that there are so many things that will play part in the next general elections, and we are just here to predict and see what will happen in that particular race that is very, very, very tricky. Now, I think we've done enough of Matiang'i until maybe if you are leaving anything out about Matiang'i, if you have any questions. And guys, if you have not subscribed to Afrique24 and you're watching, please do subscribe to Afrique24. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, and follow us on our X page. And now we move gears very fast, and we have seen critics now in ODM. We have seen Orengo criticizing the broad-based government, and Raila backing up Orengo's statement and saying, hey guys, wake up, government is supposed to provide services without coercing, So what do you make in the wrangles that are happening in ODM?
I think is interesting, because like if you take a picture of those who are especially criticizing James Orengo, there are so many things that I would say. There are some leaders who think, or do I say, who always hope, or who knows that something like freedom of expression is owned by some of them, and they forget like the Bills of Rights has the freedom of expression and the freedom of speech. That anytime or right now, because the Right Honorable Prime Minister and William Ruto are working together, now we suspend the freedom of speech and freedom of expression, which should not be the case. So I think they need to be reminded that freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and the Bill of Rights, to be specific, to crown it all, are anchored in our law, in our constitution, that you have the right to express yourself, you have the right to speak what you want to speak. That is one. Secondly, something that I also pick from this, something that people do not know. Orengo's political journey started a long time ago, before even we were born. Some of these political activities, we've read them in books, or we've been told the story of Orengo. Remember in 2002, Orengo disagreed with Raila Amolo Odinga. When Raila supported Kibaki, Orengo went and vied for presidency, and he lost his seat, Ugenya constituency, and the presidency. Later, Orengo came and joined Raila in 2007, and where we had post-election violence, and the Grand Coalition came. And that's now where I'm correcting Atande. Atande said something like, Orengo has been in opposition for so long, so he doesn't understand. Orengo has been in government. He was the minister for lands. Remind Atande that. Yeah, he should be reminded that Orengo has been a minister for lands during the Grand Coalition government. He was a minister in the administration of President Moi Kibaki and Raila Amolo Odinga. So that is something that also I want to mind. And something that I also take of this, because you see, what usually happens in cases like this, especially like broad-based government, I think if you are very, very keen, especially for those who are calling out on Orengo, some of them are not in ODM. Yeah, when you look, you check at the press that was called, majority of them during the campaigns of 2022, they were aligned to President William Ruto. So what would make them to call this person and ask Orengo to apologize? One, I think I think like the broad-based government is on paper, but on the ground is not existing. So that worry must be with them. Yeah, is on paper we have a broad-based government, but now when it comes to groundwork, it's not popular. So by Orengo coming out to speak about it, worries them most. Remember, Orengo is usually in Siaya. He meets the people on the ground, as compared to some members of parliament, or they call the professionals who are calling out on Orengo. You know,
Orengo, I saw those professionals, Bana. What do they do for the community?
I don't know. We will. I saw one of my best friend was there, so.
You don't want to comment because your best friend was there, yeah?
No, I don't. I will just comment it in general. You know, in general. Yeah. So Orengo usually have one-on-one with the people. Yeah. So with the broad-based government in place, and Orengo is talking some of the things that the people maybe are telling Orengo, they don't want to agree. You know, another thing also that these people still, the professionals do not know, it's not a must that everybody has to support the government. Even Orengo said that. It's not a must that everybody has to support the government. Each and every person has a right to support whoever they want to support. And they should know the role of the members of parliament. Yeah? What are the roles of members of parliament? Getting a development or construction of roads in your constituency is not a favor that you're being done by a government. It is a right. The Constitution allows that. And that is the work of members of parliament. That's why they they come and get the budget, and out of that budget, the development are done. Yeah.
Hey, you've seen Gypsy Corner telling you freedom of speech is not for the poor in Kenya, it's for the elite figures. You know, I agree with Gypsy Corner. The freedom of speech tunaambiwa hapa na kina Ben. Freedom of speech na ukikuwa na freedom of speech unapatikana Rivayala and nothing happens, you know. Nothing happens. Ama polisi anakudhulumu and you don't even see them being arrested. So in Kenya bana bado tujafika kwa mali tunaweza sema I am now going to read the Fourth Amendment.
You know, I agree with Gypsy Corner. That's why if you listen to what I said when I started to talk about the issue of Orengo, you know, joining broad-based government or supporting broad-based government does not mean that the Bill of Rights are suspended or they're no longer in use, or does not mean that it is kept somewhere. There are people who owns it. Like now, it's ours, so you don't need to talk about it. Yeah. So it should not only be for the elite, it should be for everybody, because Bill of Rights is a universal. It's for everyone. You know, it's not for selected few.
Now, I wanted to bring something that nobody is talking about. You know,
Yeah.
this is where you always get it here on Africa. Now, what to Atandi, the likes of Junet, the likes of Kaluma, that group that opens its mouth each and every time to criticize any leader that is going against the policies of Raila Odinga. Now, when you see Orengo talking, the things Raila tells James Orengo are not the same things that he can discuss with Atandi. These young boys should know that. Unajua, the things that Baba would talk to Orengo or Anyang' Nyong'o for that matter are not for these hecklers who wanakuja wanaimba. There are things that they can confine in that they cannot even share with the likes of people like Atandi. Maybe the only person who can come close is the Minister for Energy now. That is what they should know. So when James Orengo speaks, he's speaking probably on what they have discussed with Raila at length. They might have differed or they might have agreed. And even if they differ, they can differ publicly. Because these people, first of all, politically, they are age mates. And in terms of experience, Orengo is more experienced in politics than Raila Odinga. Orengo worked with his father very, very closely. And Raila Odinga has got a lot of respect for James Agri Orengo compared to this Atandi and Kalumas. You know, they ought to know that first. The voice of James Orengo could be the voice of Raila Odinga, could be the inner voice of Raila Odinga. And now, this brings the question. William Ruto said one thing that people didn't really pay attention to when he was in the funeral of this last funeral that happened.
Oduor.
Yeah, I think it was Oduor where he was when he was telling Sifuna that, you know, I'm an old member of ODM and I can call the founders for a meeting and we can deal with you. That statement, you might have taken it very lightly. Not so people take things lightly, and let me tell you, that statement had got a meaning in it. And
so what could be the meaning?
This is the meaning. This is now the politics that people don't read.
Yeah.
That you can only read here on Africa. Now, what William Ruto is telling you is that, you know what? I might not even buy on a UDA ticket. Where you think that you are talking so strong as a Secretary General, I could be your next party leader in ODM. And chances are that William Ruto is going to buy on an ODM ticket. And why am I saying this? Moses Kuria has also hinted that, you know, UDA is not popular. And there is nobody talking about UDA in Central. And nobody can vie even those candidates, Kina Ichungwa, they cannot vie on a UDA ticket and win. Alwale in Kakamega said that there is no UDA office in Western. Malala has finished UDA completely and Gachagua. There's no UDA in Western. There is nothing like, they don't even have an office. So where do they begin from? That is Alwale. That is not me. That is Alwale. Those are insiders. So what are they saying? We don't have a political party, but here we are. We have an ODM that is open for any discussion. It is even open that we can vie on on that ticket. All we need is the delegates to decide, and Raila to say that, I am endorsing William Ruto to vie on this particular ticket. It is a win-win for Raila Odinga.
No, I disagree with you. Yeah. And the reason why I disagree with you in terms of Ruto vying for with ODM is one. When you look at all these political parties are entrepreneurs. They are big business, because they all tend to have majority of members of parliament. The very moment President Ruto vies with ODM, what does it mean? It means that all the money that will be coming from the exchequer will come to ODM. Yeah.
Yes. And which is the party leader?
The party leader is going to be Raila.
No.
Ruto cannot be there. I tell you. Let me tell you. And look at how the politics has been. Even Raila himself has been a victim of circumstances, especially when it comes to party. Remember when they had the initial ODM. When Kalonzo went with it, what happened? Raila had to buy because he had no otherwise. Yeah. What happened when President William Ruto, they came with Jubilee? What happened with the Jubilee? Yeah, when the Jubilee and the TNA came together. So who was the party leader? The former president.
The former Uhuru Kenyatta.
Who was controlling the money that was coming? Were they members who are allied to President William Ruto or members who are allied to the former president? That is one thing they cannot. The only thing they can do the most is to form a coalition and come with a name that the ODM and the UDA are not going to be part of the campaign team. But when it comes to voting, people will be still voting with their various political party to get that money from exchequer. That is one. Secondly, the reason why I feel they cannot vie with ODM is this. Devland, see what happened. Just what happened to Rigathi Gachagua.
He was partyless. He didn't have any party.
He did not have any party. And what did that one mean? He did not have a base, people behind him to defend him during his impeachment, because the party was not his. If Rigathi could have had his political party and they negotiated with President William Ruto, his impeachment could have been more difficult than ever. Because remember, the members of parliament could have been contributing the money to his political party.
That's
He will be calling the shots.
That's
So
true.
they cannot allow these politicians. They know they have to run with their own political party. That one is a safeguard for them. It's they cannot allow that. They can just merge, but they cannot say that, okay, you're going to run with this political party. That is something that I disagree with you totally. There's something you spoke about, Orengo, and something that people do not know. I wrote it somewhere here. In March 20th, 1994, when Ford Kenya was doing polls for the officials, they were electing the officials. Orengo beat Raila on the polls by three, and Raila did not accept those results because he said he did not accept those results because Orengo got something like 63, Raila got 59. So when you look at the history of politics between Orengo and Raila, it's the longest history in terms of politics. And Orengo has differed with Raila in so many occasions. But when it comes also to defending Raila, especially in courts, Orengo have always participated and worked with Raila in terms of legislation.
Pro bono.
Pro bono, without pay. And that's why if you look at the history of the Luo nation, an MP who has not spent a leader who has not spent his money in campaigns is only James Orengo, apart from when he was running for governor in the 11th hour. That's when he used his money. But Orengo has always been enjoying the support of the people of Uganda for the longest time without even using his money, without even printing a T-shirt. I don't know how many he prints, because he's always with the national campaigning with the Baba. The voting will take place. So that is something that is there.
Yeah, I think you are so right. You're very, very right about James Orengo, and that part we agree. I also agree with you that people will not unfold their parties because one strong point that you put out there is that remember what happened to one Rigathi Gachagua. If he had a political party, then his political party would have his members of parliament would have defended him through thick and thin. That is very, very, very true. Now, with the wrangles in ODM, I don't know, and this is my thinking, that the confusion in ODM and Baba reading the mood on the ground with the Raila's the mood on the ground is being read by what Raila is saying right now. What Orengo is saying is right now is the mood on the ground that is being translated by one Orengo. That gives him an easier path, to exit. I think for me, I'm looking at ODM is probably looking at an exit point to this broad-based government. Or what do you think?
No, I don't think they're looking for exit point. I think there's this fear, because even from the beginning, Orengo was one person who did not support the broad-based government.
Brother Ben, I've lost your voice. Brother Ben, we are losing your voice. We are losing your voice once again. Something has happened to your mic. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. As Brother Ben organizes his mic, viewers, please, if you've not subscribed to Afrique24, make sure that you do subscribe to Afrique24. If you're watching us from other platforms, make sure you also like, share, whatever you like. And we'll be posting up questions here for you to participate and ask us questions if you are on the comment section. And our questions tonight is that, guys, do you believe that Matiangi's entry, let me look for that question again. Brother Ben, are you done?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Loud and clear.
So,
loud and clear. What was your point?
So my point is this. I told you earlier this fear, and I'm looking at it this way. The fear is the succession, the succession fear. When you look at Raila Odinga right now, Raila Odinga, the age is catching up. They are not even catching up. Raila is now, the age is with him. You cannot compare Raila of 2022 or 2 to Raila of 2025 to 2027. That energy that Raila had is not there. And people tend to believe that Orengo might be among those that might inherit the Luo constituency, not necessarily having them, but with putting Babu on his side. Yeah. So there are people who fear that. Yeah. So for them to be proactive is to start making sure that it doesn't happen. Because something for sure, I believe, I'm convinced beyond reasonable doubt that sometimes Raila will not run for presidency. And if he doesn't run for presidency, and he's working with President William Ruto,
President William Ruto will use Raila as one of the points or one of the campaign strategies, bearing that Raila, he stood with him. And you can revisit what he said, that he thanked Raila. Raila stood with Raila. Yeah, remember, I'm talking him. He stood with Raila, and Raila also stood with him. And when you look at when did he stand with Raila, and when also did Raila stand with the President William Ruto? So President William Ruto stood with Raila during 2007, 2008 elections. You remember that? When they are in Orange, you saw how President William Ruto fought for Raila. Yeah? Then, when the Gen Z came into play, yeah, when President was in great trouble, when the Gen Z went to the parliament and things were not working, you know, and with the disagreement of Rigathi Gachagua and everything that was, things were falling apart for him. Then Raila came and rescued him. Yeah. So it means the kind of talk that President was saying during that funeral is the kind of talk the President will continue to say will continue to use during his campaign. And remember, if you're very keen, you remember when President was there, we had somebody who was being buried. Somebody had lost a loved one. President did not talk about the person who had died and even to, you know, but their major focus was so much on Raila. Yeah. And he was also very careful that he had to go to Sifuna, but did not attack Orengo. Very selective. And why was he doing that? He was doing that because he knew where he was a territory. And he knew that what Orengo was saying was resonating with a lot of people on the ground. So he did not attack Orengo, but go for Sifuna. So that inheritance of 2027, who is going to inherit this constituency? And you know, President is trying so hard to consolidate this constituency. And anything that wants to disintegrate this constituency, President is not allowing. And that's why you find some of the members or some of the allies some of the leaders who are allied to President are saying that, are thinking that, okay, they are not appreciative to President. We've given you how many posts in government? We've given you almost like Mbadi or Pio Wandai. You've given so many. You've given Atandi the budget, and still, yeah, Attorney General. We've given you almost all, and you still cannot say thank you. You still criticize the broad-based government. So that fear, the greatest thing is fear here. That is what
all right. Only a thought now, Ben. I know we have got a lot to discuss, but this program, as I promised, it's only 1 hour so that we remain with something that people can take home. Now, viewers, we want to keep you engaged as much as we can. I have a question here posed for you. We will try and answer it and give us your comments on the comment section. Does Matiangi's entry introduce fresh ideas to Kenya's leadership, or is it merely another political maneuver? What do you think? If you are on the comment section, this is your question. I want to get your answers on the comment section about this story of Matiangi, even as we dwell on the broad-based government and the alliances between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, and the inheritance struggle that Bernard has brought here. Now, Ben, I feel that you are right about inheriting the constituency of Raila Odinga. Orengo feels, I strongly feel, if I look at the kind of leadership that is in ODM, I don't think Babu is mature enough to take over the party called ODM. I also feel that James Orengo has given it all that he had, both financially, both, committing his time for the party. He has been through and through with Raila Odinga, and he has helped the party to be what it is right now. I feel that they feel it is high time also Baba to recognize them as a possibility. But Baba has not indicated that they are even a possibility. And that is worrying, because for somebody like Orengo, he feels that, with the kind of politics that he has played, and now is the governor for Siaya. Beyond the governor, what will Orengo be doing? After becoming the governor, he wants to vie for the presidency. There are some details that people ignore. Ben, I don't know whether you captured this. Sometimes late last year or early last year, when the Baba was Baba hinted that he's retiring and is not vying, Orengo went on a tour, and his first stop was in Narok. He's in Narok to introduce himself as a possibility in ODM. But that died very, very fast. That was killed by ODM supporters very, very fast. I don't know whether you saw that. So he's somebody who has been hinting to the ODM membership that I am ripe and fit to be your next leader.
Yeah, I tend to believe that, and I'm still thinking of fear. That fear, this fear that Orengo comes with, that majority maybe in ODM might not like, even though, because remember, even when Baba was going for AU, we were here with you, and I told you that Orengo is not going to be given to be like to be the party leader or acting party leader, and I said Nyong'o is going to be the one. So when you look at what did they consider while giving it to Nyong'o as an acting, because Nyong'o is a very good politician, very good politician, and is soft spoken, and how he does his things, it is not compared to as Orengo. Orengo is very vocal, but you look at this scenario where you have the Kisumu governor, with the health status, and you still give him the duty to run a party on acting capacity, and you're leaving a senior member with a lot of experience like Orengo out. What does that one mean in the politics? It means maybe Orengo has influence. And you can remember even Gaucho really complained about that, And when you talk about that rally that you're talking when they went to Ranarok, Gaucho was among the people who was in that trail, including the Kasmuel Makoure, So there is that fear of influence with Orengo. And remember, Orengo is one person that you cannot intimidate. Yeah, you cannot intimidate Orengo, because there's nothing that Orengo has not seen. What do you want to tell Orengo has not seen? In terms of...
So that's what I said. Orengo is looking at, after being the governor, after being in the opposition for all these years, and fighting to become, for our leader to become the president. What is next for me? What is next for me? After become the CIA governor, what else will I be eyeing for? Of course, it is the presidency or the deputy president for that matter. So I feel that it is time that ODM actually recognizes James Orengo as their new party leader, even if it means that Baba mshike mkono aseme huyu wangu ametosha. It only takes Baba to lift his hand, and that is it. And all the Luo support base will follow along. That is what I think that should be done. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. And I've seen a good answer from one. Where was the one? Rogers. My question was, what was the question? My question was, does Matiangi's entry introduce fresh ideas to Kenya's leadership, or is it merely another political maneuver? Now, Rogers gave me an answer here that is interesting, and I would like to share it with you. The entry of Matiang'i in Kenyan politics will bring new energy and new beginnings. That is one Rogers is saying that. I agree with you, Rogers. It brings new entry and new beginnings. Pius Dero, my village mate here. Nico, man, you look cool. Say hi to your panelists here. This is Brother Ben Abarisana. This is Pius Dero. Nyanza News Network is tuned in. Yeah.
Inafaa tumtafute tumuoji na Nyanza News Network.
This guy is very, very busy doing some community work back in the village and trying to organize in the media in Ndiwa. He's trying to bring media in Ndiwa. We want him to tell us more about what he's doing for the community. Nyanza News Network, karibu sana to Africa. Asante sana. Now, Gypsy Corner, this is what Gypsy Corner says. Matiangi's arrival has not changed the Kenyan politics. This game has always been around. In my 175 years, Mazalendo, all these politicians have been around. What's wrong with Kenya having grassroots?
Do you know why I agree with Gypsy Corner? I've always insisted on one thing, that for us to get new leadership, kwa Kiswahili tunasema kwamba mfumo ambao sisi tunatumia ndio inatupatia viongozi. The system that we use, we've continuously used same system for the longest time and has been giving us same leaders for the last 15 years. And these leaders have not, some of them have not bring or have not any change in the leadership. So the system.
Wow, somebody likes your background there. Pius Dero says that, Ben, I love the background. I think he loves the whole setup. Pius Dero, this is where everything happens. We told you to step up here. Karibu sana. This is where you get everything here in Africa. It's a cocktail of everything that you want in media. Ziko hapa, you'll get them real time. Thank you guys who have been on the comment section. Asanteni sana for tuning in. Those who have been watching us on different platforms, Brother Benson's Media, asante sana. Those who have been watching from Nico Diambo FB page, asante sana, karibu sana. Africa, asante sana. And Brother Leo, I see you there also. Liking what you are hearing today. I wanted you, Scavenger, to come into the set and tell us what is happening in ODM, but I think you are too scared. Kuja, karibu tena utuambie what is happening in your camp. Otherwise, guys, you know, this show is only 1 hour. Kesho huko Marekani watu wanarauka kutengeneza inchi. So we don't want to keep people held up here doing this political recap. But Brother Ben,
yes.
Before we even wind up this particular show, it has been a nice evening. What are your thoughts of the future of Kenyan politics, the way you look at it?
No, I think like I usually say that Kenyan politics, even though we still have a long way to go, but we cannot compare ourselves with our neighbors. Yes, we are doing better as compared to our neighbors, because like if you listen to what happened even to Tundu Lissu of Tanzania, you know they are going to the polls on, I think it's October, and the Chadema, which is the opposition, last time I heard they were not going to run for presidency. Yeah, and what does it tell you? That is one thing that I've also observed. And if you look at the young people in Tanzania, They're not so much engaged in politics like their counterparts in Kenya. Majority of them are CCM, all of them, almost like musicians, the young men, all watu mashuhuri ama wale ambao wako na ushawishi mkubwa sana wako katika chama cha CCM. So unapata kwamba ukituangalia sisi nao ni kwamba sisi tumepiga hatua kubwa sana katika mlingo wa siasa. Vilevile ukiangalia majirani zetu kutoka Tanzania, Uganda pia ni vile vile tu, yeah? So kwangu mimi nina imani na nafikiri kwamba Kenya tuko katika reli mzuri, ingawaje bado tuko na changamoto mingi sana ambapo tunapitia, na kuna vitu vingi pia tunafaa sisi tubadilishe, lakini kulingana na venye naona na watu ambao nchi ambao wametuzunguka sisi tunaona tuko mbele tuko na nafasi kubwa sana kualiko.
Yeah. Tuna nafasi kubwa sana kuliko wale wenzetu wa Tanzania. Nilikuwa kule Arusha karibu miaka 12 iliyopita. Nilikuwa mmoja wapo katika zile tournament ama mashindano ile inahusisha jumuiya ya Afrika kule Arusha. Na hiyo mchuano normally inafanyika wakati wa Pasaka. Kuna matimu mingi sana zinatoka Arusha, Kenya, Uganda, Djibouti, wapi zinakutana pale, tunacheza mchezo wa kandanda. Mimi nilikuwa pale kama kocha, wengi wenu wajui kama mimi ni kocha wa mpira, na mimi ndio Mkenya wa kwanza kushinda hiyo trophy ya Arusha Inaugural East African Tournament. So tulishinda na tukaleta kikombe. Sidhani kama kuna timu yoyote imewahi kushinda hilo taji, but tulishinda na tukaileta. Na nilipokuwa huko, hiyo ni karibu miaka 12, watu wale wa Arusha, wale wa Tanzania, tukiwa katika kikao, tunakuja mkahawa pale, wananielezea bwana Nick mzalendo, hii Tanzania itakuja kupita Kenya. Mimi nakuambia uchumi wetu iko juu, lakini hao wanakuja kwa mwendo wa polepole, na lakini ni wa este yani si ni este, ni kali mwendo wa kasi ama ni mwendo wa hebu niambie hiyo kweli gani? Este ni haraka
ilikuwa inakuja mwendo wa kasi,
mwendo wa kasi. Hao wanakuja kwa mwendo wa kasi sana kuja kupita Kenya. So wakati wa uhuru unaona kwa nchi mingi sana zilianza kutumia poti ya Tanzania kwa sababu ya ufisadi ile ilikuwa inaendelea huku Kenya, kwa sababu ufisadi imeangamiza hii nchi yetu ya Kenya sana. Watu ni wezi, Wakenya wengi ni wezi. Ambia huyo Mkenya mko naye karibu, wewe ni mwizi. Ule mko naye ambie wewe ni mwizi, tunajua, ama wewe unatarajia kuwa mwizi. Ni nafasi tu ndio hujapatiwa, lakini wewe utaiba. Ukipatiwa nafasi utaiba. As we conclude, let's celebrate the heartbeat of Kenya. It's innovation, resilience, na hata hilo wizi inaendelea. We have got very beautiful places you can visit this Easter. Enda huko Masai Mara, ukitaka uende pale kule Homa Bay County, uende kule sehemu za Rusinga, kuna beach, white sand beach hotels kule, unaweza jivinjari kukunywa mkahawa pale na familia. As we enjoy the Easter, let's keep building our nation and let's keep the conversation going. Asante sana, and let's keep the conversation alive. And please make sure that you have subscribed to Africa, and also Brother Ben Show. Brother Ben Show is also on social media, and every Friday make a date with us. Every Friday. Ama Ben, unasemaje? Ama umechoka?
Mimi sijachoka, mimi nawaambia tu.
Unachoka, unataka kahawa ama unataka nini, kinywaji?
mi niko vyema, niko gangari. Mi naambia
huko Marekani Pasaka mnakula aje?
Mimi sikuli Pasaka bana.
Wewe ni ile dini, kwani watu wa Jolejo wakulagi Pasaka?
Mimi, you see, to me, I usually talk, I don't want to engage you, but there's what I call the African spirituality, you know.
The African what?
Spirituality.
Oh, kuna dini inaitwa African spirituality.
Though we believe in the God of our forefathers, the spirit of Ubuntu.
Then that moment of silence tells me that you should vie for the Gor Mahia chairmanship.
No.